I am Slick Nick, the living legend of hair loss. I was looking through the comments that have come through since I've got my new Pompadour undercut hairstyle. One of the things I saw come through is someone said that this is ultimately a World War II haircut, which is funny because there's that Brad Pitt movie called Fury, and largely, to some degree, this hairstyle was inspired by that. Now granted, his hairstyle is more combed back, whereas mine is combed up and over to the side like that, almost like a beret. But it is interesting to think, what stage ultimately would you put this hairstyle in? And I think it's fair to say that a World War II hairstyle, that makes sense. There's something undeniably masculine about it. But at the same time, I also got a comment in the same amount of time from someone saying that ultimately this is the hairstyle, how do I say it, of a woman who is not attracted to men. And that's interesting because I got a similar comment when I had the faux hawk that went all the way back here. But what's interesting is the concept of a woman, of a man having a hairstyle that ultimately a woman would adopt, ultimately it's more of a reflection of the woman. I mean, we could say the same thing about a buzz cut. We could say, oh, well then that's the kind of hairstyle that certain women get. Well, ultimately, they're borrowing from a masculine identity. If we're using that same logic, then we could say that a man with long hair looks like a woman, which is not the way I perceive it either. Ultimately, it's how you carry that hairstyle that ultimately makes you. And I feel that this is one of those hairstyles, once you do it, you become it. It's just like if you shave off your hair, you become that identity. You know, people use all kinds of lame things like, oh, I don't have the right head shape, or I don't have the right forehead, and they'll never try something. Now, I will say, you do have to have enough hair to pull this off. You do have to have a certain type of hairline ultimately. However, if I would have just said, I've got a receding hairline, my hair's a little bit thinner on top, there's no way I could pull this off. If I were to say that, then I wouldn't be here today with this hairstyle. So at some point, you do have to gamble. You have to give it a shot and see what'll happen. But ultimately, it's an interesting conversation. Is this the masculine hairstyle that I think most people perceive it to be? Or would some say, oh, well, that's a hairstyle that a certain type of woman would have? I say undeniably it's masculine. And looking through the comments, that's ultimately what most people are saying anyway. But I think it's interesting to consider that certain hairstyles can be explicitly masculine, and then still some people would see that as feminine. That's interesting. I think that's worth discussing. Keep in mind, if you're wondering or worrying that you might go bald, don't leave a comment about it and tell me about your dad's bald or he's not, or your mother's father's bald, or that you've got one side of your hairline going up and not the other. None of that matters. All that matters is what's in that video, that link right there, that helps you sort out the 5 questions you actually need to ask, because none of that other stuff matters.